Have you ever wondered if you can breathe and swallow at the same time? Or, here's a good one, which came first, the fruit orange or the color orange? Well, today we're going to dive into some of those truly mind-blowing facts that'll make you see the world just a little bit differently. Let's get our curiosity going. All right, let's start with a little challenge. I actually want you to try this right now, wherever you are. Go on, can you breathe and swallow at the exact same moment? Give it a shot. It sounds so simple, right? But you might be surprised.
So, how did it go? Were you able to do it? Well, I'm going to keep you hanging for just a little bit longer. Don't worry, we will come back to the answer later. Think of this as a kind of curiosity quiz, one that's packed with questions that are going to make you rethink some of the stuff you thought you knew about the world.
All right, let's kick things off with our first big question. And this one's about something you probably see almost every single day. This really feels like one of those classic chicken and the egg head scratchers, doesn't it? The fruit or the color? What do you think? Take a guess. If you guessed the fruit, you got it. That's right. For centuries, people saw this color all over the place. But believe it or not, they didn't have a specific word for it. Yeah, it actually wasn't until the 1500s that the color was officially named after the fruit. Before that, English speakers would just call it yellow-red. I mean, it makes sense, right? The fruit literally gave the color its name. How cool is that?
Okay, let's stick with food for our next one. You've probably heard this before, that honey never goes bad. But is that actually true? Can a jar of honey really last forever?
Yep, it is absolutely true. Get this. Archaeologists have found pots of honey in ancient Egyptian tombs. We're talking thousands of years old, and it was still perfectly edible. It's like nature's very own time capsule.
And the science behind it is just fascinating. See, honey has super low water content, and it's highly acidic. That combination creates this environment where bacteria and other little microorganisms just can't survive. So it basically preserves itself, which is why it can last for, well, millennia.
So, from ancient food, let's jump to ancient history. It's time to uncover a secret from the past that's kind of hiding in plain sight. Okay, this is a great piece of trivia. You know, we think of the 7 wonders of the ancient world as being totally gone, just dust in the wind. But what if I told you that you could still see parts of one today, just repurposed into something else?
The answer is Bodrum Castle in Turkey. It's this absolutely stunning fortress right on the coast, but its foundations, they hold a pretty incredible secret. This is just a perfect example of how history is literally built on top of itself. When the mausoleum at Halicarnassus, one of the original 7 wonders, was damaged by earthquakes, its stones were used to build Bodrum Castle way back in the 15th century. So you're literally looking at a castle built from an ancient wonder.
Okay, from ancient history, let's turn to our own biology. And you know what that means? It's finally time to answer that question from the beginning.
So, could you do it? The answer is no. It is physically impossible for us humans to breathe and swallow at the same time. Now, if you think you did, what was actually happening was you were just doing those two things really, really quickly, one right after the other.
And the reason why is this tiny but super important part of your body called the epiglottis. It's a little flap, and when you swallow, it automatically covers your windpipe. It's just a brilliant life-saving design that keeps us from choking.
Okay, let's shift gears now to human ingenuity. We're going to look at some incredible inventions that really shaped our world, but maybe in ways you wouldn't expect. When you think of the steam engine, you probably picture the Industrial Revolution, right? The 1700s, 1800s. But what if I told you the basic idea is actually much, much older than that? Way back in the 1st century AD, a Greek inventor named Heron of Alexandria created this device called an aeoliopile. It was basically a spinning sphere powered by steam. But here's the thing, it was treated like a toy, a neat little curiosity. So why the huge gap? Well, the ancient world just didn't have the metalworking skills to build high-pressure engines, and honestly, they didn't really have the economic need for that kind of industrial power. It took almost 2,000 years for that simple idea to become the world-changing engine we know.
Here's another one that connects a famous inventor to our everyday lives. We talk about decibels all the time when we're talking about sound, but have you ever stopped to think about the bell part of that word? Well, the bell is the base unit we use to measure how intense a sound is, and yep, it was named in honor of Alexander Graham Bell. Now, because a bell is actually a pretty big unit for everyday stuff, we usually talk in decibels, which just means 1/10 of a bell. So, we've covered ancient history, our own bodies, incredible inventions. What's the common thread here? What ties all these amazing facts together? You know, it really all boils down to this simple idea. Curiosity is the key to learning. Every single fact we've talked about today started because someone somewhere asked a question. It's curiosity that turns just learning stuff into a real adventure. And really, that's the main takeaway. The world is just full of these amazing things, all just waiting for a curious mind to come along and ask a question. So my final question is for you. What will you discover next? Thanks for joining us.